Hello and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. Today we're going to be working out of the Deep Run Roots cookbook, Vivian Howard's cookbook, and we're going to be making Eastern North Carolina style buttermilk biscuits, which is ENC-Style Buttermilk Biscuits in the book, if you're looking. And I have to say, I'm not great at biscuits, especially mixing them by hand. I do biscuits relatively often, but I do a cheater biscuit. So this is going to be interesting. And these are not rolled biscuits. You don't roll them out and cut them. You form them by hand, which is exactly what my husband's grandmother and his mother have done forever, but I have never tried it. So this is going to be an interesting one for me, and we're going to see how it works out. She says in the book that this takes some practice, which I have not had, so we're just gonna have some kindness for ourselves, and I'm sure it will still be fine even if they don't look beautiful, right? So the first thing, I've got my oven preheated to 375, and you want a rack in the lower third and you want the top rack, so I've got that all set up. And so I'm going to do this in a little bit of a different order than she has in the book because, well, I only want to deal with the lard once and get my hands messy once. So first I've got the flour. Now you're supposed to sift the flour and all the other ingredients. I'm going to use this sieve instead of like the traditional sifter, just because I find it easier and my sifter gets kind of stuck, and this is just a whole lot easier. So I've got all my flour that I've pre-measured, and you're not going to use, not all of this flour is going to be in your biscuits, so I was not super careful about my measurements because you mix as much flour into the wet ingredients as you need. Anyway, so I've got some baking powder, not baking soda, that I'm going to sift in here as well. And I've got table salt that I'm going to sift as well. I didn't use kosher salt because it doesn't sift very well, and I just don't think it works very well in these sorts of dishes. I think it doesn't dissolve, doesn't get a chance to dissolve very well. So there's my sifted dry ingredients, and we're going to make a well in the middle where we're going to put our wet ingredients. And now I'm going to deal with my lard. Oh, also I do want to say that salt, she calls for 2/3 of a teaspoon, and I don't know anybody, I don't think in my whole life have I ever had a 1/3 teaspoon measuring spoon, so I just had to eyeball it. Like, does anybody have that? Let me know, because I have never in my life had a 1/3 teaspoon measuring spoon in my set. Anyway, so I have some buttermilk here, buttermilk biscuits, and I'm going to measure my lard with the displacement method. So I already have the measured amount of buttermilk, and I'm going to put in the amount of lard that I need. So the buttermilk will show me that I've got the right amount of lard, because lard, being a solid fat, is a hard thing to measure. So I'm just looking to make sure that I have the right amount, and I'm almost there. Look. All right, wait, a little bit more. So that's another good method to use to measure these kind of ingredients. If it doesn't matter if it mixes with the liquid ingredients, you can measure it this way. The next thing I do, and she says to use your hand, so I'm gonna do that. And this is why I didn't do this earlier, to grease your baking sheet with lard. So I'm gonna do that. And I don't think I have quite enough. And I think lard has kind of made a comeback for a while. Everybody used vegetable shortening because they thought it was better for them, but now, you know, new studies and lard actually might be better for you, even though, I don't know, animal fat, who knows, whatever. Lard is traditional, and that's what we're going to use. So now we're going to, now she says to put the lard in first. It doesn't really matter, but I'm gonna pull the lard out and then pour the buttermilk in, and we're supposed to make sure it stays in its little well as much as we can. So it looks like I need to make my well a little bit bigger to fit all of this in. My hands are gonna be totally messy from this anyway, so it's not a big deal if they get messy now. Hey now, hey now. All right, because we're gonna mix this with our hands. All right. So the first thing, now all of this is excuse me, techniques that are things that you probably need to practice, and I have not. But, so first you try to mix the buttermilk and the lard until it is relatively homogeneous without mixing in much flour. And I'm not sure how that's going to work, but we'll see. Especially since, you know, lard, when it's cold with the cold milk, my lard was in the refrigerator, it's hard to mix. But I'm gonna do my best and use your dominant hand for this, she says in the book, which is, you know, it's probably the one you'll be the best with. Probably should have watched a video of this before I started, but I didn't. But I am guessing that she has one from her show, A Chef's Life, considering this is a very basic Southern thing that, you know, everybody does. And she says, her friend Lily showed her how to do this. All right, I think that's relatively homogeneous. So now we're going to start moving the wet mixture back and forth, to and fro in the flour. So we're trying to start getting some flour incorporated. But very gently. So the thing about biscuits is being very gentle with it, because you don't want to overwork the gluten, because biscuits are soft. Unlike bread, where you actually want to work the gluten. All right, turn it over and do the same. Starting to get an actual sort of dough here. She says she likes to do it once she gets going. She does a motion that looks kind of like a one-handed knead with her thumb. So I've got it all stuck to my fingers, which is, you know, unavoidable. All right. So we're going to keep doing this until the dough is no longer sticky, but still soft and tender. I feel like I still have a lot of flour not incorporated. And she says you'll have about half a cup, but there's a lot of factors. It depends on how hydrated your flour is, how humid your house is, etc., etc. I probably shouldn't be doing that because that's a little bit too needy. So I feel like I'm almost there because it's not sticky anymore, but it's also not a whole ball yet. But I think I'll be using both of my hands anyway. All right, well, seems pretty dry at this point, and I hope it's fine. So we're gonna start making our biscuits. And this is, like I said, this is how my husband's grandmother and his mother do this. They are from Eastern North Carolina, but I've never done it. So it seems pretty dry at this point, but just be making a ball, a golf ball size piece, roll it up with your hand and pinch the bottom together. Now, if you are lucky, Grandma has put cracklins in the biscuit and then pinch the bottom together, but we're not doing that today. So we put that in the corner and then flatten it until it is about 1/2 inch thick, and do that again. I'm supposed to make about 10. I don't know if my biscuits are going to be big or small or what. We'll see. This one looks like a little bit smaller than the other one, so. All right, whatever. And now you do want to make them touch, because biscuits like to snuggle. I think I got that from Stella Parks Serious Eats, I think. There are t-shirts that say that. I keep wanting to smush it when it's in my hands, because that's what I usually do with my cheater biscuits. Looks like I might get about 8 or 9, so almost right. Sort of to be expected. That there is extra in the bowl. And I've always said I feel like my flour is drier and needs more liquid, so that would make sense. Okay, so I'm gonna wash my hands, and then we're gonna put this in the lower third of the oven and bake it for 18 minutes. And then we're going to put it on the top rack and bake it for 7 minutes until they're golden brown and look hopefully decent. So I'll let you know what they look like when they're done. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you watched me make Eastern North Carolina style buttermilk biscuits. These are not hard, but they certainly require a technique that probably takes some time to master. Mine were not pretty, but they were still delicious. They probably could have been cooked for a little bit longer. The tops weren't very brown, and the middles were maybe a little bit, not really underdone, but just a little moister than, usual, I guess. I will see if I can find a video of her or maybe her friend Lily, whoever, making these, and I will put that link below or right here if I can find that, because I think I need to work on my technique. But even if you need work on it, they will still be delicious. Whole family enjoyed them, pretty much all gone. I think, yeah, we have one left, so everybody ate 2. I served mine with some sausage gravy, which is a milk-based gravy that is also very Eastern North Carolina. It's the kind of the same gravy that you get on country style steak, not country style steak, chicken fried steak. That's what it is, with a lot of pepper, and it's white. My kids don't like that. They ate theirs plain. We also ate them with strawberry jam, which I've made on this channel before, and butter. They were really good. I think if you enjoy biscuits, it is worth figuring out this technique. And even while you're doing it, you can eat the results. So if you enjoyed watching me make this, please give me a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button and come back and watch me make something else.